Junko Furuta was a 16-year-old Japanese girl who was subjected to 44 days of rape and torture before dying at the hands of her captors on November 22, 1989. Known throughout Japan as a concrete-wrapped girl, Junko Furuta's case attracted nationwide attention because of the complete brutality she had to endure before she found death. Junko Furuta attended a high school in Misato, Saitama Prefecture, Japan. She was a beautiful, active teenager who enjoyed a lot of attention, which made some people jealous. She did not smoke, drink alcohol or take drugs, which was seen as very unpleasant in the eyes of many gangster-like teenagers. One of them, Hiroshi Miyano, was in love with her, but did not seek a relationship. Junko Furuta rejected it. Hiroshi Miyano was the bully of the school and no one dared to object, but Furuta said no. On November 25, 1988, she was abducted by 4 teenage boys, one of whom was Hiroshi Miyano. The boys took Junko Furuta to the house owned by the parents of one of the kidnappers in the Ayase neighborhood of Adaki, Tokyo. The kidnappers forced Junko Furuta to call her parents and tell them she would run away and stay with a friend. Unable to understand what was coming and very frightened, Junko did exactly as he was told, thus preventing the first attempts to find him. Nobuharu Minato's parents, in whose house Junko Furuta was kept, visited their son on several occasions. However, under threat of escalating violence against her, Junko's was asked to claim that she was the girlfriend of one of the boys. However, even when it became clear that she was being held hostage at home, the parents did nothing for fear of revenge by Hiroshi Miyano. During the 44 days after her abduction, Junko Furuta was forced to endure untold suffering. She was humiliated by being kept naked most of the time. She was raped every day. It is believed that more than 100 men raped her, counting 500 rapes. At one point, she was abused by 12 different men within a day. Physical beatings included hitting with golf clubs and slapping the face on the cement floor. Often, to provoke her rapists, she was forced to do dirty things in front of them and the guests. The 16-year-old had various objects forcefully inserted into her, including a bottle, an iron rod, scissors, etc. There were confusing foods that included more water and milk. The kidnappers had removed her sensitive parts with pliers. Kept in the refrigerator for several hours. There were signs of burns in the sensitive areas as well. And these are just some of her tortures. At one point, when the attackers were resting after drinking, she tried to call the police, but was caught and punished by burning her legs. Severe leg burns and badly bruised muscles left him unable to walk for days. Since it was winter, she was forced to sleep even on a balcony, exposed to cold temperatures. After 30 days, Junko Furuta could not urinate properly due to damage to internal organs from the introduction of foreign objects and burns from cigarettes and lighters. Her hands and feet were badly injured and it took her more than an hour to crawl downstairs to the bathroom. Her eardrums were also damaged and her brain was reduced. During the 44 days when she was repeatedly tortured, beaten and raped, Junko Furuta begged her captors several times to simply kill her and finish her. Instead, on January 4, 1989, they challenged him to a mahjong diamond game. She won and this angered the boys, so they beat her with iron barbells and burned her body parts. Already severely beaten, dehydrated and malnourished, Junko Furuta died the next day. The killers put the body of the dead girl in a cauldron filled with concrete and threw it in Koto, Tokyo. The Japanese court hid the names of the 4 main captors who kidnapped, tortured, raped and killed Junko Furuta because they were minors. However, S.H. Kan Bunshun's journalists dug up and published them stating that after what they did to Junko Furuta, they did not deserve anyone to defend their human rights. Hiroshi Miyano, 18 years old at the time of the crime. He changed his name to Hiroshi Yokoyama. No Ogura, 18 years old at the time of the crime. He changed his name to Joe Kamisaku. Shinji Minato, 16 years old at the time of the crime, some sources refer to him as Nobuharu Minato. Yasushi Watanabe, 17 years old at the time of the crime. All 4 perpetrators were arrested and tried. However, because all were minors at the time of the crime, they were tried as minors. Eventually, they faced adult sentences, except for the fact that the court hid their identities. However, given the severity of their crimes, the sentences handed down to them were relatively low. 3 of the boys suffered less than 8 years. The leader was initially sentenced to 17 years in prison, but after his appeal, his sentence was further reduced. A 2004 Japanese film, Concrete, is also based on the events that led to the murder of Junko Furuta. At least 3 books were written by Japanese authors who were inspired by the case. Many people think that the story behind the torture and murder of Junko Furuta is a hoax, but the truth is that this horrible crime happened.